Board of Education resolution. Whereas Robert J. Delaney was a motivating, enthusiastic, and highly respected team member at the Elizabeth Public Schools for over 48 years until his retirement in 2010. And whereas Robert Delaney moved to Elizabeth, New Jersey at a very young age, attended the Elizabeth Public Schools, and remained a lifelong resident of Elizabeth. And whereas he began his service in the Elizabeth Board of Education in the Division of Plant, Property, and Equipment as a general repairman, was subsequently named Supervisor of Custodians, and finally Coordinator of Maintenance in 1998, where he remained until his retirement in 2010. And whereas his dedication and effective management and communication skills earned him the respect of his fellow team members and everyone whom he interacted with within the Elizabeth Public Schools community. And whereas his universal respectability, generosity with time and effort, enthusiasm to the district will continue to influence and inspire the past, the present, and the future team members here at the Elizabeth Public Schools. And now, therefore, it be it resolved that the Elizabeth Board of Education name the warehouse located at 417 South Broad Street in Elizabeth, New Jersey, in the name of Robert J. Delaney for his many years of dedicated service and laudable contributions to the Elizabeth Public Schools. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread on the official minutes of the Board of Education and a copy be presented to the family of Robert J. Delaney. I move the resolution.
Mr. Kennedy, the resolution moved by Mr. Montero, second by Mr. Pereira. Roll call, Mr. Kennedy.
Montero. Castilla. Donoso. Gonzalez. Munn. Padlo. Pereira. Trujillo. Nasco.
Absolutely yes. If any of Robert Delaney's family and close friends would please join us up front. On behalf of the Board of Education, in remembrance of Bob Delaney and his dedicated service to the Elizabeth Public Schools, I would like to present this resolution to you. Would any of you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Fernando. Let me just take a deep breath and hope that I get through this, but I'm sure you will all help me get through this. On this auspicious occasion, I have been asked to say a few words about Robert J. Delaney. Bob, as most of us called him, started working for the Elizabeth Board of Education in 1964. He was a young man of 26 at the time. He often told me stories of all the different jobs he had done during the 48 years he worked. I was always amazed to hear that he had worked himself through the ranks. Bob worked as a substitute custodian. He was appointed as a custodian to Robert Morris School number 18. I was amazed to find out he had been a bus driver, a laborer, general repairman, head custodian, supervisor of custodians, and finally coordinator of custodians and mechanics before he retired on July 1st, 2010. Bob could have retired years earlier, but he was so committed to his job and his people that Bob stayed with the board until he was 72 years old. No one could ever fool him when he walked into a building because he knew all the tricks of the trade. He always found something, I see people nodding, something to point out on his tours of all the buildings. No one was safe. Whether it was a little bit of dust on top of the door sills or exit signs, that had not been, or fire extinguishers that had not been inspected, Bob always found something that needed to be done better in the Elizabeth schools. Bob would get angry at times and was known to yell quite loudly when the job was not done to his specifications. Oh, and I mean really loud. But a few minutes later, he would be having a cup of coffee with them and telling them how to do a better job. He never really stayed angry with anybody. In the end, he always stood by his people, as he called them. Bob earned everyone's love and respect. He had a special relationship with everyone he came into contact with and made you feel like you were his best friend. As president of the Elizabeth Education Association, Bob and I had our share of arguments, naturally. But as Al Ramey, assistant director of NJA, said to me the other night, Bob, between being a coordinator and working with the EA, not an easy task. Only someone as remarkable as Bob could pull this off. I know that Bob's presence in my life helped me grow and become a better president and person. In reality, Bob was a very simple man. He never looked for recognition. He was always content to be in the background. If he were here tonight, he would say, Rose, please don't embarrass me by making a fuss. I'm leaving out a lot, but Bob would want me to keep it short and simple. But I do want to share Bob's last 5 months. Although he was very ill, he was very happy because he was surrounded by his Elizabeth Board of Education and EEA family. And I have to tell you, Bob was also our food critic. He always had comments about places we ate and how food was served. For instance, he would only eat pork chops with a bone. Nothing else would do. In fact, that was his last request for dinner. There were cards sent with scratch-offs because Bob loved to gamble. Phone calls checking in to see how he was feeling. He and Richie Kennedy spoke every day, especially about the Yankees. The house was always buzzing with visitors. He would be happy to see them. He would be so happy to see them that he would cry. There were loads of hugging, holding hands, and lots of kissing. All that love and affection was the best medicine for Bob. Here with us tonight is Bob's family. We introduced them, and that's Robert, Delaney Jr., and Sue, and Bob, and Sue, his daughter-in-law, who sent us texts and pictures of his 2 beautiful grandchildren, Rachel and David, all summer long. So I say Bob was truly a great man who will always be remembered, and I would like to thank Pablo Munoz, Superintendent of Schools, and the distinguished board members by keeping his memory alive by naming the warehouse where he spent 48 years of his life as the Robert J. Delaney Warehouse. And in Bob's memory, I want to thank everyone that came out tonight to honor his memory. And I know his boys are in the back, but I would like everyone who worked with Bob and knew Bob and loved Bob to please stand up now. So if you'd all just stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you. Would anybody like to say a few words? Thank you very much.